What's going on, creators? Yeah, just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of just avoiding kind of the noise and just the really focusing on your mental diet, because it really does have a big impact on how you're experiencing your life. If you're living in like the world's portrayal of what's happening in reality, I mean, it's just one shit show after another, and I don't see that ever really changing. I feel like it's been going on like that. And maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong, and things like shake loose, and all of a sudden you can turn on the TV again and just sit there and not be brainwashed by narratives, and false narratives at that. It'd be one thing if it was just like truth being kind of showcased, but so much of this stuff it's almost is turned into like a Jerry Springer episode, and with that, people are like, what's going on? I can't believe this. It's like you're watching Springer. This is not, representative of at least what's going on in my area, and I'm saying this to the people locally where I live, at least, in this format. It's like, who knows what you're experiencing, all sorts of, just chaos and everything could be going on. It seems like everything's happening now, and looking at kind of this dystopian future or whatever that's like kind of just being portrayed. Doesn't mean that that's how you need to define it. So much of life in general is not so much what's happening, but how you interact with it. You just as easily be telling yourself, this is an awakening, and what you're seeing is levels of consciousness are rising. The lower levels of consciousness are just reacting. That's one way to look at it. It's really when you start looking at the stories we tell ourselves. A lot of it has to do with, here's an event. You'd be telling yourself a story that's not true, that's negative, or you'd be telling yourself a story that may or may not be true either, that's positive. Might as well, if you're going to be telling yourself stories, you might as well be telling yourself a happy story, but, or choose not to. It doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't really affect me how other people are thinking about things. So much of like suffering in general is just, not so much like the event, but just the story that just keeps looping in the mind afterwards, feeling like a victim and everything else. Really shaking loose of a lot of that kind of mentality. I kind of like the update with my handyman business for those that are like been following the progression of that. I hired 3 guys, ended up firing 1 guy. Second guy, I ended up, I was about to fire him too, but he ended up quitting. But I'm down to like 1 guy. And through this entire experience, of like kind of just dealing with that whole thing, looking around is like, is this really what I want to be doing? What am I doing this for? Kind of losing track. I started playing the game a little bit, and starting to look at things a little bit more like, what's the purpose of why I'm doing this? I was like talking in a chat the other day, sharing about got the chicken coop going. They got 7 chickens, a turkey, and 2 ducks, which I think I'm going to try to take a video of that so you guys can kind of see what's going on, just with my little farm, between that, and then we got like the snap peas going, other beans that are producing, vegetables. Tomatoes are starting to turn red. We got all sorts of like blackberries. I was listening to Owen Benjamin. It was funny, he was talking about like how he moved out to, an area where they got blackberries, and it's funny because he is right. It's like like $5 or $6, for a little container of blackberries, when it's like buying little bits of gold when they grow like weeds, when you just throw them out, and just let them go. My blackberry plant is like literally probably 5 foot tall now and just expanding, and we got raspberry, all sorts of shit, really, and I look forward to maybe sharing that with you guys. My microphone has been broken, as part of the reason I haven't been doing these streams. I ended up just getting this new microphone. I'm testing it out now. Hopefully it sounds good. Having some issues with hearing the playback, because I just bought it from a pawn shop, and it doesn't actually go into my interface, which is kind of screwed up out and how I can so I can't hear myself as I'm doing this. So I don't know how the audio sounds. So hopefully it sounds good for you guys, and is like somewhat enjoyable to listen to. But yeah, going kind of like, with the cafe then too, is just, moving all this shit around, just really focusing a lot more attention just on, being at peace and just, not losing track of what the actual, it's only ever now, it's like as soon as you start to lose track of that, you start getting caught up in like the dramas and the noise. Yeah. And I've been, like in my town, ever since like the V came out, it's like everybody, like where I live is like pretty, I guess you'd call it like a red state, a red area, especially. It's maybe 15,000 people in this town, and really like maybe like Republican area, and so like the holdouts for like wearing the mask and shit, it almost felt like people, once the V came out, there's like, okay, well, if you want to get it, fine, I'm taking this shit off and I ain't doing it again. And so when I like go into the stores and stuff, at one point, you maybe see like 5% of people, 10% of people just like not wearing masks. Now it's like probably 95% of people are not wearing anything except the employees. I seen like at Lowe's when I was like buying materials, it looked like they got wearing that stupid shit again. And like yeah, and just so much of like, I don't know, there was like a couple weeks where it just like felt like, oh, everything's like, it's a pass, finally. And then, for me, I was like on lunch, I was just like eating something, and a buddy of mine came up to me, see me eating, and he's just like, hey, what do you think of this variance or whatever? It's just like, what do you mean? The same thing I've thought about this whole thing. It hasn't changed. It's like, this is not something new. It's just the noise of the world and fear and suffering. It's just until people decide to wake up and stop making men and governments their god, that they just, I have to blindly obey this nonsense. That's not my problem anymore. On like, it's like you have to make the choice. I mean, it's like I can't make the choice for you. I've already made my choice. I've already said fuck that. And I'd rather just get COVID. It's like I'm not afraid of that. I end up like getting normally I don't even really get sick or anything. It's been a long time so that I can remember actually dealing with just like some like, since I quit drinking, I had such bad hangovers, from like drinking so much, and like, on the verge of death of like just like quitting drinking and everything. It was like shaking and all this shit. But I was like always functional in this weird way. It's just like I used to be on the verge of death and still just like show up to work and just grind through it and just get done with it. And I did that for years, and so recently, a couple weeks ago, I guess, I ended up getting like a stomach issue. I was like puking. I just like, it was like 3 days. I didn't really eat anything. And even that, it's like, I hear people is like, well, if you don't do this, then don't go to the hospital. And you go, it's like, motherfucker, I don't want to go to your hospital. It's like, I don't trust any of these so-called experts on some existential anything. Like maybe if I broke my arm, I mean, that's one thing. I mean, it's like, I get shot or stabbed, or like I cut my finger off or fall off a ladder and I have some like injury that's obvious, it's like, then, that's one thing. But, it's like, I don't think they understand, any of that kind of shit. I think it's real dark ages still, but, people have this illusion that we're so, on the pinnacle of just, whatever. I mean, it's to me, it's just like really barbaric still, and just like not that far off of leeches and mercury medicine. It's like, oh, I think this person might have a mental illness. Let's shove a needle in their frontal lobe and shake it up a bit. It's almost comical if it wasn't, collective like insanity being normal. I mean, at least where I live. But a lot of what's going on, at least in my area, is getting people just to not trust anything. Which is just like, well, good. You shouldn't be trusting these liars that have been wrong about every single thing so far. But oh, this time is going to be different. Oh, this time it's like they can't. The government can't even fix a fucking pothole on the street, let alone tell you what to do with your body. It's like you gotta be halfway retarded to think that oh, let me just sign up to let the government tell me what to do with my body. Come on, grow a brain, and like with that, trying not to get like, super triggered by these things. And, ultimately, realizing if it wasn't for a screen, if it wasn't for like staring into a phone, it's just, if it's just a matter of just being out in like your town, like my town, as I say I'm just talking about myself, if it's like I'm just outside in my town, literally nothing, there's nothing abnormal going on, it's weird, and it's like, it's like my handyman business is busy. I got, one guy left. He's out working now. My wife, she's out working at a job. The only person not working right now is, I guess, me. Because I wanted to, buy this microphone and like give this little update because it's been, I don't even know when the last time I did this was. But like I've been doing a lot more like guitar related like tracks or cover. I don't even know, like live recordings. I guess I don't know how to label these things, but it's like I just want to just put out like a positive energy. People can just kind of tune in and drop out of their problems for about 3 minutes or so. It was just kind of like the goal with it. Just kind of vibe in my energy for a while. Because I can, when I play guitar, kind of stay in flow, and hopefully that resonates. And even doing these streams, I have the intention of just like hopefully you can kind of vibe in my space, kind of chill out for a little bit, kind of let go of like the other issues going on. And a lot of these issues aren't even real. A lot of this is just all mental. And I think things are playing out way differently than a lot of people are kind of grasping. Because if you're not viewing things through a lens of just fear and suffering and paranoia and all like I'm a victim and separation, it's a lot different. And like especially when you are the one that makes the choice to like kind of grow your faith. When it comes to like the law of assumption, law of attraction, all these kind of things, it's like you don't have to do shit. Part of this old mentality of like, oh, I need to work, I need to do this. You start to replace that by God's already done it. I don't got to do any of this shit. It's like I need to just kind of get in a state of being of already being that. Anytime kind of get these I just I desire for blah blah blah, and it's like, well, why do I want that? It's like for me, for example, it's like, oh, if I can just I don't even want to label it in this. Is if I can just grow a business and take care of people, and then I can finance the cafe and this and that, and it's like for what? Like why do I want to do that? Is it for to achieve a state of consciousness that I already have within? Or is it just for fun, just to do something different? You start to reflect on these things. Is so much of it, is like from the old way of looking at things. It's like, oh, I have to go outside myself for some sort of fulfillment. I gotta go listen to this external expert on something that because I'm gonna put them on a pedestal. I'm gonna take myself and put myself on the ground. And this idea of like obeying experts, so much of that is indoctrination from school. It's like, oh, how do you tell you're smart? Because you can regurgitate without really questioning why. It's because you're good at memorizing the script. Not really having critical thinking skills onto the why of things. Or really ever asking why. That's a big step of like undoing illusions, is just to recognize recognize it as an illusion. If you were dropped in the middle of the rainforest, something, and there's like some tribe that was battling some like some plague or something, and they told you to stick feathers in your ears and dance around a fire and chant and scream in the woods. It's just like you as like somebody who is not indoctrinated to believe that works. you know, you look at it as like, well, that's nonsense, you know. But you know, maybe I'll just do it, just not to you know, rock the boat of this tribe that really, you know, are believing this is real. Um, but it's, you know, it's no different. I mean, it's like you look around at, you know, some of the nonsense, you know, the noise of the world, you know, and it's like all these so-called experts. You're gonna find out they're just a fucking laughing stock, and it's like, you know, it's like everything is inverted in this crazy way. You know, it's like, oh, you know, and it's the easiest way to understand what's happening now. It's like when the narrative says, well, this is a problem. We need to fight this, you know, this and blah, 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 and this division and separation, everything else. It's like, well, you know that it's the opposite of that, you know, or, you know that, oh, hey, this is making me forget who I am. So I don't need to have this in my mental diet as much, you know, because you just got to start using discernment in a way of like, how is this affecting my inner state? You know, is this putting me into a state of fear? Do I have a story about what I believe is happening? You know, so much of like the old mentality is thinking that we know everything about everything that's happening. Oh, it's like, oh, well, you know, this just became an issue. I have a story about what I think's happening, and so I'm just going to live by that story, even though I could tell myself an entirely different story. And the only thing that changes is your inner state of being. I mean, it's like it doesn't really matter, you know. It's weird to think like that, but like it's actually kind of helpful, because it's like, well, when you start to realize you are defining and you are giving the narrative to yourself, well, then you can start changing it, because there's this like the old way. It's like, oh, this narrative is always just coming from, you know, out here, you know, and it's attack, you know, it's like attacking, like you're fighting and resisting, and as you're fighting and resisting shit, you're strengthening it. So the logical thing to do is, once you really know that, is to stop doing that, because it's not helpful. Especially when it's shit that's just sitting there triggering you and bothering you. And so much about like things that are triggering and bothering is like, you really got to ask yourself, or look in the mirror of it and just like, am I doing the same thing? You know, it's like when you hear maybe some vaccinated person, you know, saying, oh, you know, I just wish all the unvaccinated would just get the shit and die. Versus then, like, maybe you hear the exact same narrative coming out of like an unvaccinated person is like, oh, well, I hope that all the people that took the vaccine get sick and die. I mean, you got two. It's like two heads of the same thing, the same problem, just different perspective. And we're just gonna label that as a problem for now, because it just doesn't resonate as like a helpful. It doesn't seem helpful, you know, to hope other people die, you know, because we're all connected. So as you wish death on somebody else, you're saying that about yourself too, which is not, you know, there's rules to this place. I mean, as much as people think that there's just, you know, oh, just nothing going on. I mean, everything is orchestrated on purpose and deliberate, and kind of helps with like, it eventually ends up helping you like awaken. And you suffer enough, you eventually end up going, hey, maybe I'm making bad decisions and choices. Is there a better way? As soon as you're kind of open to that, you know, it's easy enough to start to change. You know, those long held, and a lot of it's just letting it go and just telling yourself a new story. You know, and you know, with that, incorporating your faith, God, love, ultimately, into your new life. You know, part of this like transition, I guess, you know, this new is going from death to life. You know, just like, you know, being completely told and programmed what to do from this outside world, to all of a sudden looking at it and going, hey, you know what? I get to decide things. You know, I don't need to just blindly just listen to things and just go along with it and not say no ever. You know, that's a big deal. Is like, start saying no. Just you can start small. I mean, you don't got to be, you know, causing a scene or anything. But, you know, so many times you get these subtle little boundary pushes. You know, and you know, like maybe people are not familiar with, you know, some of the snakes out there that habitually push these boundaries to satisfy their own shit and not really even care about you. You know, it's you know, if they cared about you, they wouldn't be pushing the boundaries. You know, but the fact that they're pushing the boundaries you know, and having the mentality, once you realize that people do that, they give you these little shit tests to see what they can get away with. The faster you say no, and kind of put them back in their place, the better, because then they stop doing that. It's like, but you again have to do that. It's not someone coming to I don't know how to say, you have to be the one that says no. You got to be the one that makes the choice to do it differently. You got to do it. Waiting on somebody else to take charge. When you do that, then all of a sudden, you're their slave. You're their kind of whatever. It's like, stop, just letting people walk all over you. Your opinion matters just as much, if not more, than others. We're all the same. So, somebody thinking that they can sit there and dictate to you, and then expect you to just go along with shit. And until you say, hey, no, how about you? Then you turn, flip it around. One of the things I've learned, from, I guess, being a boss, having employees, having, people that, like, tell what's going on, is being direct, and not having this, like, fear of, like, not everybody needs to like you, and that's the thing of it too. I mean, you just people pleasing, trying. Oh, I need 100% of everybody to love and appreciate me. It's like, you see what's going on with people. I mean, who gives a fuck what half the people think? Half the people are just going to disagree with you just because they just do. And who cares if that's the case? Maybe you get, a 60%. It doesn't really. What do you get to it? What do you need from that? Why do you need that validation? Why do you need that person to agree with you? Is it like a fear? Like, if that person disagrees with me, then they're a threat and they could kill me. It's like, well, where did that programming come from? It's, you start really getting into that, and then reflecting on why you're believing the things you're believing, and then too, why you're just going along with things. It's like, you be the leader. You be the change. This is the only way things will ever change, is if you decide, hey, right now in this moment, I'm not going to just go along with things. I'm going to live my dreams. I'm going to live in peace and joy right now. I'm not, and that's one of the things when you start getting triggered, by the noise of the world. You start attacking it. It's like, oh, look what this cable news says. Oh, look what this mainstream media source says. Oh, it's all, this, it's, triggering. It's upside. It's an obvious lie. It's a deception. It's a manipulation. You can start seeing through this shit so easily. And it's like, but if you're in your mind, like, attacking, that thing or that person that wrote it or that person that said it, and you're just triggered by it. I was like, oh, fucking Fauci, said this and blah, blah, and you're just, or Bill Gates this or the. It's like, these people are already suffering. It's like, part of, like, the misperception is like, oh, these people are going to get what they deserve. It's like, it's only ever now. There is no future that they're getting. It's all happening right now. So it's like, and you're giving up your peace by attacking them. Ultimately, the faster you start to realize, the more that you're just like attacking, getting irritated at what this person said, that you'll never probably even meet this person. And if you did meet this person, they probably, and sometimes it's like, I feel like, from dealing with employees, I feel like there's a lot of Yanny Laurel going on, where people are just hearing whatever they're fucking hearing, and it's like, that's not what I said. I don't know how you heard that, or why you're telling yourself this story, or, it's very surreal. And the thing of it is like, the more that you're able to look at it subjectively and not be, upset, not saying, you'd be perfect at it. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm at least catching it faster and faster, where it's like, oh, he's getting this argument over whatever. And then, in the past, like, for me, it used to be triggered, if like me and like my wife maybe get an argument or something. And it's like, oh, there's these, for hours, just like, oh yeah, I can't believe, and you start telling yourself these stories, and then this, or it's like, oh, some, one of the employees, they just did something outrageous, and said some shit to a customer. It's just like, what the fuck? Are you serious? Like, how do you not know not to talk to people like that? Yeah, and then you sit there, just in your mind about it, maybe attacking them, being angry at them. But then when you stop and realize what you're doing, it's like, I'm giving up my peace to attack this person in my mind. It's just, again, and it's like, how long am I going to continue to do this for? And there's really only the present moment. It's such an illusion, this idea of linear time, this complete construct. It's completely not real, and it's useful, to make appointments and keep schedules. But it's like, if you believe that it's an actual tick 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 tick, it's like you're not understanding what could be, because so much of this shit is the past coming back to the present. It's not the future, that's really happening. It's like the past keeps looping and looping. It's like the seeds you planted yesterday are looping around to the present moment. The seeds you planted yesterday are looping again. And in the future, you might have a vision of what you want the future to be, but until you address the past that keeps reoccurring, the story from the past that keeps reoccurring, you're stuck in this loop. And so, but once you recognize the loops, that it's like, oh, and it's part of like embodying states of consciousness. Now it starts to break those loops. It starts to break those patterns. I'm trying to get this glare off of there. I got this little paper that blocks this, and it's this, looks like that's better. I don't know if that bothers anybody else. It bothers me seeing that little glare, but like, but until you kind of like resolve if you look at what's happening in the 3D as nothing more than past beliefs and assumptions, it makes it easier to, there's a technique called like, I remember when. It's like a Neville Goddard technique, but like, part of it is like when you leave a state, you're able to kind of get out of that old unconscious state of suffering, by remembering when you were in it. And just by remembering when you were in it, all of a sudden that, spiritually, it's like, oh, I'm out of it. I'm already out of that state, because I can look at it, and it's not where I'm at now. So it's like, oh, I remember when I was like super poor and I couldn't afford food, says, in the metaphysical, it's like, well, I'm not that anymore, because it's like, I remember when I had a hard time buying food. It's easy to buy food now, so it's like, you're in a different state, and you're able to do that by reminiscing. It's like, I remember when. But it's also a helpful way for the seeds that got planted of the past that are coming to confront us in the present, to go, oh, well, I remember when I believed that, and I told myself this story about that, and start to change how the story that you're telling yourself about what's happening. Not to say to align to a narrative, but to align to maybe something between you and God, how you redefine these things. It's like revision is like Neville Goddard label for this, but you can call it what you will. Ultimately, you're reinterpreting it through a lens of love and peace, and with oneness with God. So it's like, so when you have this past whatever that's confronting you in the present, you can continuously tell yourself the same story, or you can, in prayer, ask infinite intelligence, what's a different way to look at this? How does love interpret this? How do you see this in oneness? And start kind of going in there, and don't be surprised when you start to get that kind of inner understanding, like maybe the download, maybe the synchronicity, anything and everything, can be used to kind of get you these kind of just insights. And so, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I'm probably going to bounce here. I'm curious to see how the playback sounds. You guys could maybe drop a comment or something if you like the audio. I for some reason with this microphone, it's not into my interface. It's kind of screwing up the playback, so that's why I don't even have headphones on, because I can't hear myself through it. So I unplugged the microphone and then just listen to the recording. And so it's kind of it's going to be a surprise to me to see how it sounds, but hopefully it sounds good to you guys. And other than that, I appreciate you guys' support. I appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing if you made it this far. Appreciate it. And other than that, hopefully doing more streams or recordings. Hopefully maybe get some video of the chickens and the turkey and the chicken coop and everything. Maybe show you guys so you can see it for yourselves. Maybe if you want to do the same. But yeah, with that being said, I appreciate you guys, and till the next now, God bless.